Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 2 of the Unsung Heroes for the 2026 Super Motocross World Championship season. The San Diego Supercross just took place this weekend, and several privateers putting in solid rides. I am Trey Stire, your host. Thank you so much for tuning into the show and listening. We have a lot to cover today before we hop into everything and really spotlight these privateer racers who have been grinding and putting in solid results in the early part of the season. I will make sure to shout out all of the places you can find us on social media. Of course, the written version of this series can be found at treystire.wordpress.com, treystire.wordpress.com. Go to the recent work tab to find all of my articles, and I also have tags on all of my articles. So if I'm interviewing people that I have talked to in the past, you can find some of my previous works with them as well. If you're a listener, you can find us under the Stire Sound on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, of course, my typical podcast banner. And then if you want to find it on YouTube, it's just under my channel, my name, Trey Stire. Thank you for tuning in once again. And let's hop right into it. Round 2 of the Monster Energy AMA Supercross season took place Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego on Saturday night. And as always, we'll start things off with the 250 class. No surprise, for the second week in a row, Maximus Voland on the Club MX Yamaha, the top non-factory racer. And what a night it was for Max. I know the finish, 8th place, doesn't really show how good of a night it was, but he was up front, great start in his heat race, and then passed his teammate Hunter Yoder, led the rest of the race, and scored the heat race victory. Another heat race win for Club MX. Cody Schock has a couple for them. Maximus Voland now getting another for the team. Awesome to see. And he was up in the top 5 at the start of the main event. Unfortunately, tipped over, went down, shuffled back to 13th, came back to 8th place. Not bad. 7, 8 finishes in the first 2 races aren't really going to jump off the page, but speed wise, I think Max has a lot more left in the tank, and I think it's going to be no surprise when we see him back on the podium. I think it's coming soon. He looks good, looks comfortable, looks fast, seems very confident. So it'll be interesting to see if Max can really mix it up with some of these factory guys, take it to the Star Yamaha or Rockstar Husqvarna or Pro Circuit Kawasaki guys in the next few weeks. Speaking of Yamaha and top 10 finishes in his first 2 Supercross starts this season, Dylan Schwartz, another great run, up and down day for Schwartz. Summer Schwartz starting early, it seems like 9th place finish, matching his career best in Supercross. Can you guess when that career best finish was? I'll give you a second. If you said March 2021, yes, I was still a senior in high school. His rookie season is Supercross, 9th place at Atlanta, the residency races. Don't miss the COVID era of anything at all, but Tuesday night races were pretty peak, I'll admit. Dylan Schwartz was 9th at one of the Atlanta rounds, matches that finish at San Diego. Had to go to the LCQ after some trouble in his heat race, but boy, did he rip through the pack in that LCQ. Went from 11th to 1st. In a 4-minute race, he was passing guys like it was nothing. Very impressive. And then a top 10 in the main event, one spot better than his Anaheim 1 finish with a 9th place run. A great night for Schwartz. And I know he was talking to Colt Moto's Edward Heather, my guy Edward. Awesome to see him at San Diego with a credential cover in the race. But he told Edward on press day, he's like, this is the best I've ever felt on Supercross. And he's really building back. I think people forget he's always so good outdoors, but the last couple years of Supercross, he's really missed most of it. 2024 had a wrist injury, missed the entire season, then missed most of the season last year. I think he only raced 2 or 3 rounds and made the main event at one of those. But Dylan Schwartz, man, if he keeps stacking these good results up, he could be getting closer toward the top 5. Who knows? He's got a lot of talent and a lot of potential. We'll see what he can accomplish. And then returning back to the top 10 for the first time this season, Anthony Bourdon for the Partzilla, Blaster Power, PRMX, Kawasaki team. Rocket is also on the bikes. They got a lot of sponsors over there. But Anthony, third season here in America, brand new team after 2 years with Bar X. He's a little off in Anaheim. Granted, he went down early and it's a brand new team, but 10th place, that is more of the norm for the number 70. It was a quiet but a solid ride. Was in the top 10 pretty much the entire main event and a great step forward. And he was also the only PRMX guy out there. Best wishes to Jack Chambers as he continues to recover from his wrist injury he suffered at Anaheim 1. But great top 10 run for Anthony. He's used to those. Moving back to 11th now, Parker Ross improved some from Anaheim 1, ran inside the top 10 a lot at A1, but slipped back late. 11th place for Ross, better than his 14th place finish. He says he still needs to work on some things, but he's trending in the right direction. Just behind him, another sophomore racer from the AEO Power Sports KTM team, Avery Long in 12th this week. Wasn't able to score 2 consecutive top 10s, but not a bad run regardless. Of course, last year, Avery got hurt at San Diego and ended up missing the next few rounds. So for him to make it through round 2 this year is a step in the right direction, even if it is a small one. 13th place, a former AEO guy, someone who is now on the Bar X machines, Lux Turner. Lux was as high as 6th in the main event. He was running very well, but of course, still dealing with a lot of wrist pain from his crash at the AUS-X Open in qualifying. Of course, fractured one of his wrists and then injured the other one a little bit. But Lux, P13, it's a little better, one step at a time for him, and he's still improving. Imagine how good he would be if he came into the year fully healthy, if he's still getting top 15 results with some bum wrists. Then in 14th, go back to the AEO Power Sports KTM team, Carson Mumford, a few spots back from his Anaheim 1 finish, but Carson revealed that he's been a little bit under the weather. He's been dealing with some sickness. He said on Instagram that he has a respiratory and ear infection, not ideal, especially with the high intensity and the amount of breathing and work it takes in these main events to compete. He also had a little bit of a spill in the whoops. Lucky to be okay from that one, but Carson 14th, healthy physically in terms of no injuries. Hopefully he can get over this sickness and really be able to charge because he showed some speed at Anaheim 1. He just needs to put it all together, and I feel like this is a very pivotal season for Carson. So let's see if he can step it up throughout the rest of the year. Rounding out the top 15, a guy who has not qualified for a 250 main event since 2023. Granted, the last 2 years he's been in the 450 class, but Hunter Schlosser back down in the 250 division this year. He was close to transferring out of his heat race at Anaheim, but got involved in an early crash in the LCQ. He was able to make good and correct that in San Diego. He was able to transfer directly through his heat race. He's back with the Next Level Racing team this year, and Next Level going back to kind of their old transport style ways. Everybody's on different bikes, although 2 out of the 4 riders familiar to the team are sticking with Hondas. Of course, the team ran Hondas last year, but Schlosser, 15th, solid result, and this is one of his best 250 results of his career, his first main event in that class since Glendale, April 2023. And he had a solid night. 15th place for getting back in the main event is awesome for Schlosser. He did make a 450 main event last year in Seattle, but unfortunately was 22nd and didn't have a point to show for it. But Hunter back in the 250 main event, and that's a guy who's been racing some Indian Supercross and winning over there. So awesome to see Hunter back in the main event picture, and hopefully he keeps the ball rolling. One of 3 Honda riders. He was the second best Honda rider on the night, and the Next Level Racing team, some good people over there. So awesome to see them back in the top 22. 16th place, the Italian was back. Lorenzo Camparisi on the FRT Motorsport Kawasaki. Lorenzo looked solid, a little bit better than Anaheim. Very similar in terms of the heat race and LCQ part of it, just shy in the heat race. Then he goes out and the LCQ puts together a really composed, really solid, steady ride to qualify for the main event. And 16th place might be his best Supercross finish here in America. I'm not entirely sure, but it's still a great run for Lorenzo. Of course, he was gone from America for a couple years. Now browsing over his statistics, no, 16th is his second best finish. 14th at Indianapolis in February 2021 is his best. But hey, 16th, not a bad run, and he said he's getting better. He said the track was giving him a hard time, but he was happy with his effort. Great to see Lorenzo working hard, getting back to a consistent main event guy after being gone from the American scene for so many years. 17th place on the HBI Racing KTM. Usually an East Coast guy. He's a Florida boy training at the Dog Pound. Aiden Shive on the 137, of course, racing with heavy hearts after the passing of Jamie Bradford. But I know she was probably smiling looking down because Aiden put together a great day. He was the fastest guy in the B group in qualifying, and you could see after he put his heater down, looked at the top of the board, saw his name up there, pointed to the sky, and he went directly through the heat race as well. He didn't have to worry about the LCQ. He was in the LCQ last week, tipped over early in that first corner, so he wasn't really able to compete for a transfer spot, but he's back in the main event, 17th. Great to see for Shive, and of course the HBI people. Some of the best in the pits. I mentioned Next Level Racing's got some great people. HBI Racing, so many people involved, from team owner Matt Bell to Chris to Uncle Donnie spinning their wrenches for Aiden, helping him out. A great group there. Always great people to talk to. And Aiden back in the main event, 17th, after a rough Anaheim one, is great to see. And I think he could be a guy that turns into a regular main event face this season. Had some good runs last year, I think 3 starts a year ago. Finishing in 18th place, and that leads us right into our interview this week. Thanks once again for listening to the Unsung Heroes Part 2 of the 2026 season, San Diego Supercross, taking place Saturday night in Snapdragon Stadium. On the line with me, he's a racer in the 250 West class, competing in his second professional season and second season in Supercross. He's competing for the Next Level Racing team, one of the very few GasGas riders in the field, but he is repping and got the brand their first start of the year in the main event from Brantford, Ontario, making his second career main event start. Please welcome back to the Unsung Heroes, and for the first time on one of these audio interviews, Preston Masciangelo. What's up, man? Congratulations for getting back into the main event scene, and I'm sure you're pretty stoked on your results from San Diego.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, thanks, Trey. I appreciate you having me on, man. Yeah, awesome weekend for me. Last weekend in San Diego actually marks a career best for me so far, so I'm stoked on it.
That is one of the things I was definitely going to talk to you about. Career best, as you mentioned, 18th. You made a main event last year, Anaheim 2, which was a really cool mark off the bucket list, but now getting a little bit better. You were just a couple spots shy at Anaheim 1, but San Diego, solid in qualifying. Then LCQ ripped a really good start, led most of that race, ended up finishing second. Moving on to the main event, as you said, 18th place, a career best for you in the early stages of your career, making progress forward. First of all, take us through your weekend at San Diego a little bit, how you were feeling and making progress on the bike, and then putting together a career best as you continue trying to climb the ladder of success early on in your career.
Yeah, no, like you said, Anaheim 1 honestly was feeling really good all day, even just to start out the season like that. I had a good qualifying, and like you said, just missed it by a few spots. So even that in itself was a really big milestone for me, just kind of picking up where I left off from last season, arguably even better than how I left it. So going into San Diego, I got, a really good week of riding underneath me. Just been feeling really solid lately. Love the track. The track was awesome. They did a really good job with that. And yeah, like you said, had an awesome qualifying. I think I was sitting 24th or 25th going into the night show. So not too bad, not too shabby, kind of just off some of the faster guys. But yeah, no, put together a really solid day. I'm really happy with my execution in the races. The heat race was awesome for me. Pulled a really nice start, ended up finishing 11th. So even there too, just kind of missed it by a few spots. And then, yeah, like we've seen, really put it together put it together in that LCQ, got out front, and yeah, man, almost won the dang thing. So yeah, it seems like it's really coming together for me now, starting to get more consistent and kind of, racing, more racing the track now rather than just kind of getting through the obstacles and whatnot, kind of like how I was feeling last year. I'm feeling really comfortable on the bike, and I have a great group of people behind me. So we're looking forward to a really good year.
That leads me right in to talking about your team, of course. Last year you were competing for the AJE Motorsports team. Unfortunately, they closed their doors. They were in the 250 class for a while, and a bunch of really solid riders went through that pipeline. Guys like Chris Blows, Mitchell Harrison, so on and so forth. And of course, you get to this season, you're still on a GasGas, but joining Next Level Racing. Of course, the Next Level team the last couple years have had their own bikes, but now this year it's more of back to the original format of the team where it was kind of a run what you brung setup where everybody's on a little bit different bikes. Of course, you have Hunter Schlosser, your teammate, who is in the top 15. He's still on a Honda. Colby Kopp's still on a Honda as well, and then Slade Varola joining the team on a Yamaha. But you're sticking with your GasGas machine. I know you were racing a GasGas in Futures in SMX Next when you competed there, and of course last season in your rookie year. Talk a little bit about sticking with that brand and also joining a brand new team this year. And I've talked to Chris, the owner of Next Level Racing, in the past. Great dude, and he seems like he's always willing to go above and beyond to support his guys, and seems like a really great dude.
Yeah, no, exactly. Hit the head of the nail on that one. The team is awesome. Like you said, I've been on GasGas for about just over 3 years now. It kind of really just came down to the comfortability of the bike. Chris gave me an option really early on in our few conversations we had preseason to stick with my own bike. And you know what? I was actually really thinking about at the time, and this would have been in early October, I was really thinking about making that switch to the Honda. But yeah, at the end of the day, I've always been really comfortable with the Austrian brand bikes. And yeah, the bikes that I'm on, they're awesome. I'm on some really good equipment. And yeah, just super comfortable. So that's kind of what that came down to. And it's awesome that Chris is giving us the option to ride our own bikes this year. And I think that's what's ultimately moving me in a better direction too, is just staying with what I know. Obviously kind of Slade's doing the same thing, and the two other boys, Colby and Hunter, are doing the same. They're super comfortable with their setups. So yeah, it's been awesome. The team is great. We have a really good dynamic going on, riders and staff. Obviously you said Chris is a great dude. He's been helping me a ton. And I honestly couldn't ask for a better group of guys to do this with. We all go above and beyond for each other. Even us as riders, we really, everyone kind of helps each other. So it's like I said, it's an awesome dynamic, and we're working really well. And obviously, when you feel good, you ride good, you got good people around you. So it's just, I'm just super stoked with how everything's going so far. It's been awesome, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season. See if we can get ourselves more inclined to these main events and kind of move myself up the ladder.
We were talking a little bit before we started recording this episode about Anaheim 1. You said it was a hectic weekend for you. I know when I first got into the pits on Friday, it looked like some of the awnings, some of the tents in the Next Level pit were a little bit destroyed, a little bit torn. It was obviously very windy that weekend in Anaheim. The good old Santa Ana winds blowing through, but I don't know how much of that was true. Was I correct in saying that? I know it looked like some things were a little crazy over in your guys' pits for a little bit on Friday morning in A1.
Yeah, no, I think that was most of the paddock altogether. Kind of was looking like a war zone over there on Thursday night. So that kind of led into the busyness of the weekend. But you know what? We got it sorted out. And yeah, like, man, A1's always just a busy weekend. Everyone's, the nerves are high. Everyone's getting ready for the season. And yeah, it's always a little bit hectic that way. But yeah, no, like I said too, A1 was awesome for me. I had an even better qualifying session at A1 than I did actually at San Diego. So yeah, just stacking bricks right now, finding progress in wherever I can. Been making some huge strides in my starts, as we've been seeing.
I think that's a really good mentality to have, especially for you guys just starting to stack up, and for you, your position in your career very early on, of course, only your second year, and you've been training some at Club MX during the off season, and now, of course, you're out in the West Coast getting ready. You just talked about finishing up at Fox Raceway today. Been pretty packed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, of course. I know Matt Burkeen's been out there. I watched his video last week. So many guys out there from Colt Nichols, Kevin Morans, Grant Harlan, Rod Bell, Jorgensen. I mean, so many main event level guys out there just training, slamming laps on a Wednesday. But talk a little bit about your training over the last couple months. Of course, Club MX has so many strong guys. They went 1-2 in their heat race with Voland and Yoder. Of course, some other guys have been out there. I know they have Gavin Towers out preparing for the East Coast Supercross. Bryce Shelley, I think, is over there as well. And then talk about heading toward the West Coast, trying to figure out everything and find places to ride over there when you're not used to the area and not accustomed to being out there.
We'll start off with Club MX. I spent just over a month there towards the end of last year there between November and December. And yeah, I always, I use Club MX as just to really build my base and kind of get that baseline in there for preseason. And I couldn't be more thankful to spend my preseason at a facility like that. Working with Chad Reed now, who's obviously at Club MX, Daniel Blair, and obviously the guys riding, Hunter and Max have just been riding phenomenal lately. They've taken huge strides in their racing and their racecraft. So being able to see that firsthand, ride with those guys. Yeah, like you said too, the Phoenix Racing Honda guys have been out there. Freddie Norn's been out there. Bunch of different guys. We can really recreate a bit of a race simulation over that way. So yeah, that really I took some major strides this year being there just for the month. Having kind of a Supercross base from last year and understanding how everything, kind of the sequence of everything. Now going into this year, I'm a little more prepared. I understand it now, and I think that's why I was able to build so much confidence at Club MX. And yeah, now being in Southern California, staying out here for the month. And honestly, it's awesome because, during the week, there being not that many places to ride, we've got about 3 or 4 different public tracks that we're able to ride. So it doesn't really matter where you go on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. You're going to find someone fast, and it's always a good time. So that's been a huge help. Even having, guys like you said, like Colt Nichols, just out at the public track and being able to watch that firsthand is pretty dang awesome. So yeah, a little more familiar with the area now. I spent a month out here last year during the season last year, and yeah, it's been awesome. I can't complain at all.
Of course, I mentioned in your intro, and I mentioned all the time when I'm talking about you, that you are from Canada, north of the border, and sometimes we're used to seeing some of these guys from Canada. Of course, Cole Thompson's one that always comes to mind, a guy who's really spent a lot of his career over in America. But you also have some other guys who usually just stay up in Canada. Occasionally they dabble over here. Dylan Wright, of course, Jess Pettis, some of those guys. But talking about your career, and I know this is something I've asked you about in the past, but talk to the people who are listening about making the decision instead of just staying north of the border and maybe racing in your career in America a little bit here and there and being predominantly Canadian based. Take me through the process of saying instead, you know what, I want to race in America. Of course, I know everybody dreams about racing in America, but what were those steps in saying instead of racing in my homeland, I want to try to race with the best in the world down in the United States?
Yeah, like you said, this is kind of the premiere of motocross racing. It doesn't really get much more competitive than racing in the USA. So it's always been my dream, even growing up. A lot of my amateur career I spent in the U.S., probably even more so than Canada. And yeah, it's always been the dream. Racing Supercross was a milestone goal I had, since I was 7 years old, and I've always chased that. I've had, my family has always supported me in doing that too, and I couldn't be more thankful for them. And it's been a long road, and certain times I didn't know if I was going to make it to the big stage, and now we're here. So it comes down to kind of, I really want to be, one of the best, and to say that I've raced in a Supercross main event with some of the guys that we have on the line now is pretty dang insane. So it's always been a dream of mine to race Supercross, like I said, and we're still chasing it. So obviously I still race at home. The last few years of my racing career have been pretty hybrid. A lot of my racing in the summer, I go between, pretty local rounds, local professional rounds in Canada, part of their series, the Triple Crown series, and also racing as much as I can in the States during the summer as well. I get, Ironman, High Point, Redbud, those kind of tracks are pretty close to me. So when the Nationals come this way, I'm always there. For the last year, actually, you know what? Last year was my first year doing Nationals. So yeah, sometimes I forget, but I'm pretty early on in this career, and I'm learning and I'm growing, and yeah, there's no better place to grow than to be riding with the best of the best. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, we've got some amazing riders in Canada, like you said, Dylan, Jess, Cole Thompson, and we've got some pretty competitive guys at home that can really do it down here too.
I know you've probably going to be doing the rest of the 250 West Series, and as you mentioned, a little bit of outdoors here and there, mixing in some Canadian nationals as well. But when you look at the rest of the calendar, of course, this weekend, Anaheim 2, the 1 year anniversary of your first career professional start in a main event. You got some new rounds, like Houston's back on the calendar for the first time in a while. I know the East-West rounds are a little bit different this year. I think Birmingham might be one of them. Anywhere on the calendar you're really looking forward to, or something that jumps off the page for the rest of the season, maybe a new venue you're excited to try out?
Honestly, I'm really excited for this weekend. Like you said, being the 1 year anniversary of making my first main event. I love Anaheim. I think it's such a sick stadium. Love racing there. Always done well there. So really excited for this weekend. And gotta say Houston as well. Never been to Houston. Never been to Birmingham. So those will be exciting venues. And I want to say Salt Lake City too. I love Salt Lake City. I've been there once before for Futures, and I had a blast. Honestly, I'm a pretty big fan of the hard pack base kind of dirt that they have going on up there in Utah. So I always seem to do well there in those kind of conditions. So gotta say I'm looking forward to that too.
Preston Masciangelo here on the Unsung Heroes after a career best result in the San Diego Supercross. Before we conclude today, I'll give you a chance to shout out some of your sponsors. I know Next Level Racing, obviously the big one, the team helping you get to the races each and every weekend, but feel free to shout out some of your sponsors and supporters. Who is helping you get to the races and achieve your dreams and continue progressing through Supercross and Motocross?
Yeah, gotta say big thank you to the whole Next Level Racing crew. They took me on, and it's been an awesome journey so far. I can't thank them enough. Chris, Jake, everyone involved in the team. We got Redline Oil, Hammer Nutrition, Fly Racing supporting the team, ASV Levers, ODI Grips. So many good people, so many good companies that are involved. Got to thank Birdhouse Moto and Aaron Berg. He's also been my mechanic these past few weekends, and he's been doing an awesome job. So yeah, them. Got to thank my boys back at home, Norfolk MX, Farm Boys Racing, and everyone who's made this dream happen. Y'all know who you are, and we couldn't do it without you. So
Thank you for the time, man. Go follow him at Preston Masciangelo. Man, thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I know we've had you on the Unsung Heroes a couple times before, but awesome to see your progress from a futures guy to making your first main event last year, now starting to get better starts and get better results in the main event. Best of luck this weekend and the rest of the season, and thank you, man. Good luck.
alrighty, thanks Trey. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks again.
Once again, thank you to Preston Masciangelo for his time on the Unsung Heroes of San Diego. And now back into our regular countdown, looking through all of the top privateers who qualified for the main event, starting back with 19th place. 19th place, a guy who's no stranger to main events on the Grindstone Freezing Group Kawasaki. It was Josh Varese on the number 224. Unfortunately, early crash or some kind of issue for Josh. Not the main event result he wanted, but still in the main event. Still 3 points added to his total. Could always be worse. And a bad main event is always better than a good night of not qualifying, I guess you could say. Josh Varese, look for him to rebound in Anaheim 2 after a top 15 at A1. Then moving down through the list. 20th place, speaking of second career main events, I mentioned it with Masciangelo. Ty Freehill, California native. His first main event was very eventful, you could say. San Francisco 2024, one of the biggest mutters in recent memory, and Ty had an absolute insane ride in the LCQ. He was at one point, I believe, if I remember right, 7 seconds faster than the rest of the field during that race. And Ty qualified. He was on a Yamaha then. He is now on a Honda, number 316 out there, getting support from Steel Horse Ministries, Nate Coe, some other people helping him out, Sizzy Clean as well. Ty was solid in the LCQ, man, a little sketchy at times, but he was putting together some fast laps as well, and he held off the pressure. Him and Paul Bloy were battling a little bit for that last transfer spot, getting a little squirrely up there, and then Paul went cartwheeling, but Ty kept it on to and put it into the main event. 20th place for Ty Freehill in his second career start. Unfortunately, 21st and 22nd place at San Diego were DNFs. Hunter Yoder on the Club MX Yamaha. Great performance in the heat race. Another hole shot, another couple laps under his belt in the lead. Lost the lead to his teammate Maximus Folan. Was on track for a decent start in the main event, but Levi Kitchen tipped it over in the first corner right in front of him. Hunter was caught up, and then he pulled into the pits. The team found some kind of bike issue, so they decided to play it safe and pull off for the evening. Unfortunately, 21st for Yoder after so much potential. But that career best finish of 8th, I'm pretty sure it's going to get knocked down pretty soon the way he has been riding and performing. And then in 22nd position, last place from the Heartbeat Hot Sauce Nano Extreme Yamaha powered by Tylube team, Robbie Wageman. It was a rear brake issue that took him out of action, unfortunate, but he will be back and ready to roll for Anaheim 2. Now looking at some racers who were just outside the main event. Unfortunately for SLR Honda, they went from both bikes in the main event at Anaheim 1, a solid start to the year, to 0 bikes in the main event at San Diego. Justin Rodbell and Matty Jorgensen were the first two guys out of the main event. Rodbell did receive the Rocky Mountain ATVMC Privateer Payout Award, so I guess a little bit of a consolation prize getting that extra $1,000 from the folks over at Rocky Mountain ATVMC. But not a great weekend for the SLR boys. We'll see if they're able to regroup at Anaheim. Talking about some guys who have some experience in other series, Kai Aiello, an off-road guy. He's been racing pro motocross the last few years here and there, and he's running the 250 West Supercross series aboard his Three Bros Hatch Racing Husqvarna machine. He's talking about trying to diversify his racing career and learn Supercross, staying sharp, trying to chase the dream while also racing for a living on some off-road stuff. It'll be interesting to watch his development throughout the year. And then your eyes did not deceive you. There were pink bikes on track in the 250 class. A brand new team called CDF Racing is out there with two German racers. They have a very bright bike, a very bright motorhome as well. So you will be able to spot them anywhere probably. But CDF Racing, a brand new team. They also have sponsorship from Aqua Pool Supply, which is what you see predominantly on their bikes. Two different bikes. Technically, you have Paul Beloy, number 204, on a GasGas. Then you have Nico Koch. Yes, that's how you pronounce it. Nico qualified for the main event at San Diego last year. He is back on a KTM once again. I believe he was with the Becker Racing KTM organization that is a European MXGP team usually. But those two were in the mix trying to qualify at San Diego, and Bloy was close, man. He was in that battle, like I mentioned, with Ty Freehill. Then he went cartwheeling, but thankfully he's all right. He's going to give it another go at A2. And that was your news and notes and your unsung heroes from the 250 class. Awesome to see some new faces or familiar faces that haven't been there in a while in the main event. Cool to see some of those guys getting some more starts under their belt. Next up, the 450 class, and what a performance. Joey Savacci have a night on the quad lock Honda, his 8th career 450 Supercross top 5. Congrats to Joey. What a performance. A solid heat race, and in the main event, started around 4th place and really stayed there much of the night. Chase Sexton ended up getting around him. But what a great ride from Joey. Of course, another solid offseason competing in the World Supercross Championship and a great result. He was one of the hardest working guys on track at Anaheim 1, and he finally has something to show for it after going to the back of the field, then climbing up, then going back, and then climbing up again last week. But what a run from Joey. 5th place, the Quad Lock Honda team and Joey have to be stoked, and a well-deserved great ride. Awesome to see him in the top 5, and he was the only privateer in the top 10. Only one in the top 13, actually, because 14th place is where you'll find the next guy. It was Justin Hill in 14th place on his Team Tedder KTM. Justin's been banged up a little bit these first couple rounds, dealing with some rib cartilage issues. Unfortunate for him, but he's still putting in top 15 efforts. Not too shabby, considering he's banged up a little bit. 15th this week, taking a step back from Anaheim 1. It was Christian Craig. Not a great showing from Christian, but hey, once again, a bad main event. Better than not making it at all. Then you move a little bit further back, 17th place, Vince Freezy, and the new penalty point system from the AMA on licenses is being tested out by Vince. He gained 2 penalty points on his license for failing to respect the blue flags, which is something apparently he's been doing his entire career, trying to take advantage of people during blue flag conditions, and I guess he did it at San Diego, finished 17th, but ended up with 2 penalty points on his license. Still another main event for Vince, though. Looking further back, 18th place, Shane McElrath, and once again, not a great run for Shane. He's been a little disappointing to start the year. He started really finding his form once again in the Australians or the World Supercross Championship rather, and now he has been 17, 18, I believe, his first 2 main event finishes. Not typically what you would expect out of McElrath. Then the rest of the field, 19th, the first of the 2 KMR Champion Tool Storage KTM guys. Kevin Morans was back in the main event, and he had a solid day. You look at the LCQ, he was charging, catching Mitchell Harrison a little bit for the win. Didn't get the win, but 19th, a solid performance, a good rebound after being just short of the main in Anaheim. Then behind him, I just mentioned him, Mitchell Harrison aboard the Partzilla Blaster Power PRMX Kawasaki machine. Won the LCQ but fell a couple times in the main event. Could have been a little higher than 20th maybe, but unfortunately, those crashes cost him a little bit. Then moving on to 21st, it was the second KMR guy, Grant Harlan, in his first main event aboard a KTM and aboard that team. Stacking momentum for Grant. A few spots out at Anaheim 1, now back in the main event. 21st is nothing crazy to write home about, but progress nonetheless for Hardog. Great to see him back in the main event. And your final man in the main event, finishing 22nd. It was the second of 2 ISRT Kawasaki's. Congrats to Max Miller, his second career 450 main event. And for Max, of course, he's been a 250 Supercross guy the last several years, and now he has made his second 450 start. He had one prior at Nashville in 2023 when he was just dabbling on the 450. He's been on the big bike outdoors the last few years, but now a full-time 450 guy. Congrats to Max putting it in the main event. And then looking at a couple guys outside of the main event, Freddie Noren and Cade Clayson, 0 for 2 so far. Pretty interesting. Freddie was the first guy out at San Diego. Tristan Lane also right outside of there. It'll be interesting to see when those guys are able to put it back in the main event. And then a couple bits of injury news. Unfortunately, Connor Visger put in one of his best performances of his career so far in Supercross. He's now aboard a 450. He's been a 250 guy the last few years in Supercross. Now competing aboard his US 27 Motorsports Beta. Yes, the only Beta privateer in the field, and he made the night show this week. Solid performance, but unfortunately, he got hurt on Monday. Not sure what the extent of Connor's injuries are, but he will be on the shelf, unfortunately, for a little bit. And so will Logan Carnow, of course, the OnlyFans sponsored rider on the number 169. He had a crash in the LCQ. I saw him on the side of the track during the broadcast. Crashed in the LCQ, according to his Instagram, resulting in a broken collarbone, a torn CC ligament, and multiple broken ribs. I think there's a chance we can see Logan back this season, but definitely an unfortunate incident for the number 169. Hopefully he gets back in time for the last part of the season because they race in his home state of Ohio for the first time in over 2 decades this year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to episode 2 of the 2026 Unsung Heroes. Wherever you've tuned in at, we appreciate it. Once again, thank you to Preston Masciangelo for his time on this week's edition of the Unsung Heroes. Make sure you go follow him and support him as he continues this season for Next Level Racing. And of course, thank you everybody for tuning in. Be sure to spread the word about the series, whether you read the articles, listen to the audio, or both. Thank you for all of the support. Stay tuned for the Anaheim 2 edition next week, and we'll have a little bit more coverage because it'll be the first SMX Next race of the season. But this has been the Unsung Heroes. I am Trey Stire. Thank you for listening. See you after A2.